Imagine waking up tomorrow morning and discovering that you've somehow traveled back nearly 2,000 years into the heart of ancient Rome. No smartphone, no electricity, no modern medicine, just you, surrounded by one of the most powerful civilizations in human history. Sounds exciting, right? But here's the question. Would you actually enjoy living there? Or would you be begging to return home before the day is over? Let's find out by experiencing one full day in ancient Rome. The sun rises. Most Romans woke up at dawn because daylight was precious. As you step outside, you're immediately hit by the noise. Merchants are shouting, animals are moving through crowded streets, and thousands of people are already busy with their day. Ancient Rome wasn't a quiet city. In fact, it was one of the busiest places on Earth. But here's something strange. Despite all its greatness, the city had no modern sanitation system like we do today. The streets could be dirty, crowded, and filled with unpleasant smells. Not exactly what most people imagine when they think of the mighty Roman Empire. Now you're hungry. So, what do Romans eat for breakfast? Maybe you're picturing giant feasts with endless food. Not so fast. Most ordinary Romans started the day with something simple, like bread, cheese, olives, or fruit. The huge feasts you've seen in movies were mostly for the wealthy. In reality, the average Roman lived a much simpler life. And that raises another question. If you suddenly woke up in ancient Rome, would you be rich or poor? Because your entire day would depend on the answer. Let's assume you're an average Roman citizen. That means it's time for work. There are no computers, no air conditioning, and definitely no working from home. Whether you're a craftsman, merchant, laborer, or farmer, your day will be filled with hard physical work. And if you're a slave, which millions of people in Rome were, your life could be even harder. In fact, slavery was such a huge part of Roman society that many of the empire's greatest achievements were built on the labor of enslaved people. Suddenly, ancient Rome doesn't seem quite as glamorous as it did a few minutes ago. By midday, the city is packed. Markets are crowded with people buying food, clothing, and goods from across the empire. Imagine seeing products from Africa, the Middle East, and Europe all in one place. Rome was like the center of the ancient world. But here's a question. Would you feel safe? Because crime was common, and if someone robbed you, there wasn't exactly a modern police force waiting to help. As evening approaches, the city begins to change. Wealthy Romans might head to lavish banquets filled with food and entertainment. Others might visit public baths, one of Rome's most famous inventions. These weren't just places to get clean. They were social centers where people talked, relaxed, and discussed politics. But then comes the entertainment that ancient Rome is most famous for, the Colosseum. Imagine entering a massive stadium packed with tens of thousands of cheering spectators. Gladiators prepare for battle. Exotic animals are brought into the arena. The crowd roars with excitement. It sounds incredible from a distance, but here's the uncomfortable question. Would you still enjoy it if you were actually there? Because for many of the people in that arena, the entertainment came at a terrible cost. As night falls, Rome slowly quiets down. You return home after surviving your first day in one of history's greatest empires. And that's when you realize something important. Ancient Rome was both amazing and terrifying. It had incredible engineering, powerful armies, and breathtaking architecture. But it also had disease, inequality, danger, and hardships that most of us could barely imagine today. So, after spending one day in ancient Rome, what do you think? Would you want to stay longer? Or would you take the first opportunity to return to the modern world? Because while Rome may have built an empire that changed history forever, living there was a very different experience from reading about it in a history book. And for most of us, one day might be more than enough.